Hello, everybody. This one's probably a couple of weeks late, but as they say, better late than never, right? So, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about funnel metrics. And specifically, what we're going to talk about is answering the age old question of how many leads do I need to generate in 2024 to hit a revenue target? Most of you are probably, if you haven't been asked that question, you will get asked that question. So we're going to show you how to use your data to answer that question as accurately as you possibly can. And we're going to use this template that I have here, which I will share with you all as well. We're going to use this template to show you how to calculate this. So the first part of calculating this is you have to have your 2023 actuals. That's this column right here. You have to have that column and you have to know the answer to that question. So you need to know in 2023, how many leads did you generate? Of those leads, how many of those turned into MQLs? Of those MQLs, how many of those turned into opportunities? Of those opportunities, how many of those turned into wins? What was the average deal size of those wins? And what was the total revenue for those wins? Once you have that information, you can calculate your 2023 conversion rates. And really, your most important conversion rates are very simple. Lead to MQL, MQL to opportunity, opportunity to win. Now, if you're not using the concept of an MQL because you're using ABM and MQAs, then you need some other form of conversion rate. So your stages may be slightly different, but the concept here is the exact same. You need to calculate your conversion rates from 2023. Now, when you calculate your conversion rates from 2023, you have to do cohort tracking and cohort conversion rates and cohort numbers. So you have to create your 2023 cohort. Now, there's a couple different ways you can approach your 2023 cohort. The most basic is to just have your cohort be leads that were created in 2023, and then all the stages and conversion rates are based off of the leads created in 2023. Now, one of the things that is a limiting factor in that is that a lead that was created on December 1st really hasn't had enough time to turn into a win yet. So that's going to negatively impact your conversion rates down the funnel because just time, right? So you can shift your cohort from leads created in 2023. You can take that 12-month cohort and shift it backwards in time a little bit so that maybe you're taking leads created from October of 2022 through end of September 2023 to make sure that the leads created at the end of that cohort have had sufficient time to turn into opportunities. But you want to make sure that you've got your 12-month cohort there that creates your conversion rates. Now that we know what our conversion rates are and we know what our actual numbers are, then what we want to do is we want to plug in our revenue target for 2024 in this column here. So that's going to be your revenue target. Now, this column, the 2024 target column, is essentially saying if everything stays the same, if average deal size stays the same and conversion rates stays the same, then how many wins would we need to achieve that revenue? How many ops would we need to achieve that number of wins? How many MQLs would we need to achieve that number of ops? And how many leads would we need to achieve that number of MQLs? So essentially, you're keeping all conversion rates the same and your average deal size the same, and you're just going to work your way back up the funnel. So in this case, our new revenue target for 2024 is 15 million. We're maintaining an average deal size of $100,000, which means that in order to hit that, we need 150 wins. Now, our opt to win conversion rate from 2023, and this is all sample data, is 13%. So in order to achieve 150 wins, we would need to create 1,154 opportunities. Okay, that's a lot, but that's just our conversion rates. Then in order to achieve that number of ops, we have an MQL to opportunity conversion rate of 21%, which would mean that if we divide this by 21%, that means that we need roughly 5,500 MQLs to achieve this number of ops. And then it's the same calculation to go back up the funnel to the leads, where our lead to MQL conversion rate is 29%. And that's going to mean that in order to achieve this number of MQLs, we need this number of leads. So this target column is based on average deal size staying the same and all of our conversion rates staying the same. Now, I also like to create this third column, which is like a goal column. And this is where you get to kind of play around with what would happen if average deal size went up, what would happen if any of our conversion rates went up or went down. This is where you plug in goals for what you're hoping to achieve in 2024 by making incremental improvements to things, right? Because we want to make improvements to conversion rates. We want to make improvements to average deal size. So this is like our goal of what would happen if we made those improvements or made those changes. So here, you're going to copy over all the formulas from this column, and then all you're going to do is you're going to change your average deal size. So in this case, we're using an average deal size of 115,000, which means that instead of 150 wins, we need 130 wins. Now, we've also changed our conversion rates here from 31% to 25% and 15%. These are pretty modest conversion rate increases. The MQL to Opp one is not necessarily modest, but it's, they're not big, huge changes to our conversion rates. But you can see the impact that this has on the rest of the funnel. So instead of needing to drive 5,500 MQLs in 2024, we would need approximately 3,500 MQLs to achieve that same revenue target. So this helps you understand also like where can we see the largest increases based on maybe small tweaks to conversion rates. So for example, if we send fewer MQLs, if we reduce the lead to MQL conversion rate from 29% to let's say 25%, but that increases our MQL to Opp conversion rate to 35%, here's what that change would look like. So you can play around with your conversion rates to see if there's specific parts of the funnel that you can impact by either reducing a conversion rate here, which results in an increased conversion rate here. You can kind of play around with your funnel conversion rates and see where you're going to have the biggest impact by making improvements. So this is a really good way, and this is kind of a simplified version because it's only looking at really 3 conversion rates: lead to MQL, MQL to Opp, and Opp to 1. You can obviously include other stages, other conversion rates in here that fit your organization. It doesn't change the concept, it just changes the formatting of the spreadsheet. But ultimately, this spreadsheet and this process is a really good way to apply your data and figuring out how many leads do I need to generate in 2024 to achieve my revenue targets. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this makes this easier for you. As I mentioned, I'm going to put a link to this document into the comments so that you can use this template yourself so you don't have to rebuild this. You can use this exact template here. So if you have any questions, please let us know. We're always happy to answer any questions. But again, hopefully this is helpful and makes this a lot easier for you. Thanks, everybody.